From fatal exorcisms to unexplained deaths and devil worship, these are some real life nightmares.
Hey lovely people, I'm Scott Leffler from Wonder Earth. Before we begin, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for new amazing videos.
Yes, a scary movie or book or show sticks with you once you've finished it, but you can at least rest easy knowing that what you've just experienced was a work of fiction. We hate to be the bearers of bad news, but sometimes the real world is as horrifying as anything Stephen King could dream up. Real terror happens around us every day, in our country, our town, or even our backyard. Murders, disappearances, demonic possessions, devil worship. These aren't stories from a writer's mind, they're headlines ripped right from the news. Here we've rounded up some terrifying, unexplained stories reported on in the news. A deadly exorcism. In August 2016 in North London, 26-year-old Kennedy Ife began acting strange and aggressive following a pain in his throat. He reportedly bit his father, threatened to cut off his own penis, and complained of a python or snake inside of him before his family restrained him to a bed with cable ties and excessive force. As the BBC reported, the family then set about attempting to cure Kennedy through restraint and prayer over the next 3 days, the court was told. His brother, Colin Ife, told police, "It's clear that thing was in him. What we believed was a demon because it was not natural. It was clearly trying to kill him," he said. "We had to restrain him for himself. It was clear if we didn't restrain him, he could have tried to harm people in our family." Kennedy Ife had been bound to his bed for 3 days without medical attention when his brother called emergency services, explaining that Kennedy Ife was complaining of dehydration. He appeared to have developed breathing issues and was pronounced dead at 10:17 a.m. As the Independent reported, while police were at the house, Colin Ife allegedly carried out an attempted resurrection by chanting and praying for Mr. Ife. All 7 of Kennedy Ife's family members were accused of manslaughter, false imprisonment, and causing or allowing the death of a vulnerable adult. A post-mortem examination revealed over 60 wounds, including a possible bite on Kennedy Ife's body, and his father, Kenneth Ife, along with 4 of his brothers, sustained injuries as well. The BBC reported, Kenneth Ife told jurors he ordered his sons to take shifts and use overwhelming force, but denied that an association with cults, occults, or secret societies played any part in the death. After a 4-day jury deliberation, all 7 family members were cleared of charges on March 14, 2019. Dead animals in the walls. When the Bretzius family decided to insulate their home in Auburn, Pennsylvania in 2015, they discovered that it had already been, with scores of dead animal carcasses. As Fox reported, the dead animals were wrapped in newspapers from the 1930s and 1940s and were among half-used spices and other items. After removing the items, they sent hundreds of artifacts and carcasses to an expert in Kutztown. The expert attributed the rotting animals in their walls to powwow or Dutch magic, a ritual originating in the culture of the Pennsylvania Dutch to treat ailments and gain physical and spiritual protection. The Pennsylvania Dutch were a group of German-speaking settlers to Pennsylvania in the 1600s and 1700s, and are often of Lutheran, Mennonite, or Amish faiths. The Washington Post notes on the magic, many of the spells deal with the care of livestock, finding water, or the treatment of minor ailments, reflecting the conditions and concerns of early American settlers. But powwow also has within it a tradition of darker spells, and even of such things as conjuring demons. One notable ritual in their tradition is this hex to create loyalty in a dog. To attach a dog to a person, provided nothing else was used before to effect it, try to draw some of your blood and let the dog eat it along with his food, and he'll stay with you. The mold found on the rotting carcasses in the Bretzius home has caused illness among the family members, and they say that the odor hasn't gone away. Florida devil worship. Friends noted that Danielle Harkins, a 35-year-old school teacher near St. Petersburg, Florida, started acting strangely in June of 2012, developing an interest in demonic rituals. Soon after, she was arrested for abuse of 7 of her former students, as the Tampa Bay Times reported. Danielle Harkins told the kids they needed to rid their bodies of demons as the group gathered before dusk Saturday around a small fire near the St. Petersburg Pier. They should cut their skin to let the evil spirits out, police said she told the children. Then they needed to burn the wounds to ensure that these spirits would not return. When Harkins held a lighter to one teen's hand, wind blew the flame out, police said. That prompted her to douse his hand in perfume before setting it on fire. The boy suffered second-degree burns, police said. Another teen was cut on the neck with a broken bottle. Harkins used a flame to heat a small key, which she then used to cauterize the wound. The police were notified because a friend of one of the students who participated in the ritual raised alarms. However, none of the students themselves told their parents about the event or would comment following the arrest of Harkins for aggravated battery and child abuse. NBC reported, investigators said they've spoken to Harkins, but she didn't spell out what type of religion would require such drastic measures. She hasn't informed us exactly what she was trying to accomplish with this, Putes of the St. Petersburg Police Department said. The death of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was last seen on January 31st, 2013 in the lobby of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was vacationing through the West Coast, documenting the trip on her blog and checking in with her parents every day. On January 31st, those calls stopped. Lam had vanished. Soon the police were involved and her parents arrived to help with the search. They had nothing. That February, LAPD released elevator surveillance footage of Lam before her disappearance. The footage shows Lam behaving strangely in the elevator, appearing to talk with invisible people, peering around the corner of the door, crouching in the corner, and opening and closing the door. But what exactly is going on in this video raises more questions than answers. Theories range from psychotic episodes to demonic possession to unknown assailants just out of the camera's view. Around that time, hotel guests started reporting weird things happening with the Cecil Hotel water supply. The shower was awful, said Sabina Bao, who spent 8 days there during the investigation. When you turned the tap on, the water was coming black first for the 2 seconds, and then it was going back to normal. The tap water tasted horrible, Bao said. It had a very funny, sweet, disgusting taste. It's a very strange taste. I can barely describe it. But for a week, they never complained. We never thought anything of it, she said. We thought it was just the way it was here. On the morning of February 19th, a hotel employee climbed to the roof and used a ladder to investigate the hotel's water storage tanks. That's where authorities found the decomposing, naked body of Lam, whose personal items were found nearby. After an autopsy, her death was labeled accidental. NBC Los Angeles reported at the time about the strange circumstances at the hotel's past. The tank has a metal latch that can be opened, but authorities said access to the roof is secured with an alarm and a lock. A single-room occupancy hotel has an unusual history. Night stalker Richard Ramirez was found guilty of 14 slayings in the 1980s, lived on the 14th floor for several months in 1985, and international serial killer Jack Unterweger is suspected of murdering 3 prostitutes during the time he lived there in 1991. He killed himself in jail in 1994. In 1962, a female occupant jumped out of one of the hotel's windows, killing herself and a pedestrian on whom she landed. An exorcism in Indianapolis. Last year, the Indianapolis Star published a lengthy report on a family terrorized by 3 children allegedly possessed by demons. The account of Latoya Ammons and her family tells disturbing stories of children climbing up the walls, getting thrown across rooms, and children threatening doctors in deep, unnatural voices. It would seem like something straight out of a movie, a work of fantasy, except all these accounts were more or less corroborated with nearly 800 pages of official records obtained by the Indianapolis Star and recounted in more than a dozen interviews with police, DCS personnel, psychologists, family members, and a Catholic priest. One of the more chilling sections of the report includes a segment about the possessed 9-year-old. According to Washington's original DCS report, an account corroborated by Walker, the nurse, the 9-year-old had a weird grin and walked backward up a wall to the ceiling. He then flipped over Campbell, landing on his feet. He never let go of his grandmother's hand. Another segment of the piece reads, the 12-year-old would later tell mental health professionals that she sometimes felt as if she were being choked and held down so she couldn't speak or move. She said she heard a voice say she'd never see her family again and wouldn't live another 20 minutes. Utah murder-suicide. In September of 2014, a Utah teen returned to his home to find his parents and 3 siblings dead. In a notebook, a to-do list had been scribbled on the pages. The list looked as if the parents were readying to go on vacation. Items such as feed the pets and find someone to watch after the house were written, the Salt Lake Tribune reported. It appeared to be murder-suicide, but there was no suicide note, no prior indication that they would do this, no explanation. Police couldn't figure out why 2 parents would kill themselves and 3 of their 4 children. For a year, no one knew exactly what happened to the family or what would drive the parents to do something so unthinkable. In January, police released more chilling details in the case. According to accounts from family members and an investigation by police, the parents were driven by a belief that the apocalypse was coming and an obsession with a convicted killer. As the Washington Post reported, friends and family told police that the parents were worried about the evil in the world and wanted to escape a pending apocalypse. But most assumed that they just wanted to move somewhere off the grid. Investigators also found letters written by Christy Strack to one of the state's most infamous convicted killers, Dan Lafferty, who was convicted in 1984 fatal stabbing of his sister-in-law and 1-year-old daughter. According to trial testimony, he killed the victims at the order of his brother, Ron Lafferty, who claimed to have had a revelation from God. The story became a book called Under the Banner of Heaven. Police said Christy Strack became friends with Dan Lafferty, and she and her husband even visited him in prison. The Phone Stalker. In 2007, ABC News documented a series of cell phone calls to families with terrifying, specific death threats. The unidentified callers knew exactly what families were doing and what they were wearing. The families say the calls come in at all hours of the night, threatening to kill their children, their pets, and grandparents. Voicemails arrive, playing recordings of their private conversations, including one with a local police detective. The caller knows, the family said, what they've been wearing and what they're doing, and after months of investigating, police seem powerless to stop them. This went on with the Kuykendall family for months, who reported a caller with a scratchy voice threatening to slit their throats. When the Fircrest, Washington police tried to find the culprit, the calls were traced back to the Kuykendall's own phones, even when they were turned off. It got worse. The Kuykendalls and 2 other Fircrest families told ABC News that they believe the callers are using their cell phones to spy on them. They say the hackers know their every move, where they are, what they're doing, and, again, what they're wearing. The callers have recorded private conversations, the families and police said, including a meeting with a local detective. The Watcher. After moving into their $1.3 million dream home, a New Jersey family started receiving creepy death threats from someone who identified themselves as the Watcher. As CBS News reported earlier this year, since moving in, the owners said they've received numerous letters from the mysterious person. The Watcher claimed the home has been the subject of my family for decades, and I've been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming, Castro reported. The new owners have several children, and other letters asked, have they found out what's in the walls yet? And I'm pleased to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. The family was forced to flee from their home and later filed a lawsuit against the previous owners.